is within us. That's the soul. That's number 2. Number 3, he talks about Abraham. And Abraham, there's no evidence for Abraham. Now, I ask you a question. According to the Torah, Abraham had a son, Ishmael. There are 200 million Arabs call themselves the sons of Ishmael, the children of Abraham. They said that before Muhammad. And in fact, the only place in the world prior to the Quran that ever said that the Arabs circumcised their children to age 13 is the Torah. Until the time of Muhammad, and to this day, the Arabs still circumcise their children at age 13. And that's proof enough. Because if they were not the children of Abraham, the only other place that they would know about the children of Abraham would be from us, and they hated us. So obviously, Abraham is a real thing. He had real children. We are the children of Abraham. And the Arabs are the children of Abraham. They were our cousins. I don't know why they hate us so much, but they're our cousins. We should love each other. And, all old arguments should be thrown out of the wayside. We should help each other and cooperate with each other. Instead, we're trying to kill each other. People want to tell me that they want to kill me because I don't believe in Islam. Too bad. I don't believe in Islam, but I'm your cousin. Why shouldn't you help me? Why shouldn't I help you? Anyway, that being said, the Torah is an unbroken chain for 3,500, 3,600 years. In fact, the time of Abraham is a total of 3,800 years until our day. That's an unbroken chain of information. And that's the reason why those of you out there who look at the astrology charts, you know where the astrology charts come from? They come from Jewish learning, because the Jewish learning is the only unbroken chain in all of the ancient religion, from all the ancient kingdoms, all the ancient people of the world. Now, I ask a question. Why do the astrologers believe in the transmission of the Torah and not Jewish people and not scholars? The answer is very simple. If you believed in the transmission of the Jewish Bible, you'd have to believe in God, and you have to believe that you have to do things, and you have to face up to a universal standard. Instead, these people don't have a universal standard. That's the reason why they call themselves atheists. All the scientists have a vested interest in trying to disprove religion, and they really haven't. And that's going to be afterwards. I mean, my last talk. I want to get back to the Torah. The Torah is a tradition that is unbroken for 3,800 years. The Torah was given to us 3,320 years ago. Now, 3,320 years ago, it says in the Torah that the entire people, there were 600,000 men over the age of 20. There had to be an equal number of women and a lot of kids. 2-3 million people saw the giving of the Torah. Now, if that didn't happen, we are the most discerning people on earth. The Romans got their law from the Jewish law, by the way. They went and studied Talmud by the great rabbis in Babylon and in Israel in order to understand the basis of law. The Roman common law almost reads exactly like the Jewish common law, which is older than theirs. And English common law comes from Roman law. So basically, the laws of the Western world come from, the principles of the laws of the Western world come from the oral law of the Jewish people. So now, we have an unbroken chain. We are among the most discerning people on earth. There is a disproportionate number of Jews who have won Nobel Prizes for science, for math, for economics, for physics, for chemistry, for medicine, etc., etc. There might have been one Arab in the last 100 years, but there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of Jews who have won Nobel Prizes. They were maybe a quarter of the Nobel Prizes in the world in the last 100 years. We make up only a quarter of 1% of the population of the world, maybe a fifth of 1%. So, and we have a disproportionate number of people who are so brilliant. That means the Jewish people are very discerning, very understanding, very, very intelligent people. We would never, ever have accepted anything that was a hoax. Now, Christianity had 12 disciples, period. Nobody saw it. The whole people didn't see what Jesus did. And Jesus is coming out, and, the resurrection was seen by a couple of people, supposedly. And the same thing is true. Paul saw his dream that Jesus decided, or God decided, that the Torah was no longer relevant. You didn't have to do the Torah in order to be Jewish, a Jewish Christian. And that was Paul's revelation. Anybody else see it? No. Martin Luther King said he had a dream. Well, Paul had a dream before him. And nobody else saw it. And you see, by the Jewish people, it was all in front of the people. So point of this is like this. Either it happened or it didn't happen. If it didn't happen, the next generation of Jews, and Jews are very discerning, not just believing people, we are believing and discerning, very questioning people. If it did not happen, we would never have accepted and continued with it. We looked for something else. For 520 years, there was no idolatrous practices en masse among the Jewish people. The Jewish people en masse accepted their tradition, the tradition of Moses. In fact, even among the idolatrous people, they still practice Jewish law. It's been chronicled by many, many rabbis. Rabbi Avigdor Miller, most notably, went ahead and went through the entire history of the Jewish people in the first and second temples and shows how every aspect found in the Bible corresponds to some law or mitzvah, commandment that's found in the Bible, in the Jewish Bible. So this is something which is an unbroken tradition for 3,320 years. Before then, there were 400 years till Abraham and so on. The Jewish people have been going on for 3,700 plus years, and we have an unbroken chain, and they haven't been able to dispute that. So along comes this nerd and says, well, on PBS they showed that the whole thing is a fantasy. I want to tell you something. I've listened to all the all the Bible critics, and I've read this stuff. I can tell you without any question that the Bible critics have said certain things, and in the end, archaeology has disproven them. And the Bible stands as the most accurate, historically, document of any document in the ancient world. And we don't need any corroboration from any other document or any other historian, because they are all a bunch of liars and gangsters. Herodotus of Thucydides, all those people changed their history for their people, for the sake of the glory of their people. We're the only ones that changed anything. Because we criticized our leaders. You don't see the leaders being criticized in the history books of the ancient world. They lauded and they praised their leaders that they were gods. We never did that. And so, our tradition is extremely accurate. We have a Torah that's written by hand, 304,805 letters. Do you know the difference between our Torah and the furthest Jewish group that didn't have any connection with us for 2,000 years? That's the Yemenites. How many differences are there in our Torah and theirs? About 4 letters. Now, that's 1 out of 90,000 letters. And this is handwritten. Now, if you have a mistake, usually it's repeated again and again. We were able to catch the mistakes and make sure that we have an exact copy